Hi, it's Maggie Georgopoulos here again, and this is with, now I'm going to get this right, my day 11 video, because I did my day 10 one earlier. I got my times a little confused. What I want to do is I actually want to continue on about what I was talking about earlier. So as I mentioned, I was in a car accident about 17 years ago now. And the result of the accident actually ended up in 5 years of rehabilitation to try and get rid of daily migraine headaches, the fact that I had difficulty holding things with my left arm, and I would often fall down because the message wouldn't get through to my left leg. So the discs had been damaged in such a way at that time that they affected the left-hand side of my body. Now, as I'm not saying that this is how everyone should deal with it. We all deal with things in our own personal way, but I want to share my story in order to give you an idea of some of the things that people out there are dealing with, and the fact that it can actually impact on your mental health when you're trying to deal with whether it is a barrier as large as this, or something, like things aren't working out on your family, or you've got children that are sick, or you've got parents that are sick, or there are just other personal blocks like anxieties and things like that may be in the way. But as I said, the upset was it took 5 years. So 17 years later, unfortunately for me, over the past 2 years, I've had a further degeneration of the discs that were damaged. And this has started affecting my hips and the right-hand side of my body. So only a couple of weeks ago, I actually had a day where, after we'd actually finally come to the conclusion as to what it was that was causing this, where I literally sat on the couch and felt sorry for myself. And to be brutally honest, do you know what? If anyone did that, I wouldn't blame them. However, running a business or being in a corporate environment where you're trying to develop your career ladder, that's not necessarily an option. But having said that, you have to give yourself permission to be able to have times like this. It is a big ask to overcome some of these personal barriers that are actually there. And sometimes it is okay for the mental issues or the depression or the sad days, as I call them, or the bad days that I occasionally have in direct relation to this particular issue. It's okay for you to give yourself permission to not necessarily have a perfect day where you put it all aside and block it out. And it is actually quite hard sometimes to deal with things like this, because these are the hidden barriers. Like, for all intents and purposes, I look like a perfectly healthy, a little bit overweight, 40-something-year-old woman. However, the damage that's been caused to me means that there is effectively a silent thing that's going on. And this is part of the reason why this particular video today is so long, because this is such an important thing that people need to understand. That when people are having mental health issues, particularly in a workplace in relation to your career, whether you be someone who manages them or you're someone who's dealing with it, you need to understand that this is not something you can just turn around to somebody and say, do you know what, go home tonight, get over it, and come back ready to work in the morning. It doesn't always work like that. And we need to be open to being able to manage these things, because what's actually happening is we've got people who are not just perfectly good, but a perfect match for actual businesses that we're potentially overlooking because they cannot be there in the regular 9-to-5 type hours. And also there are people out there who are discounting their opportunities in their careers, once again, because they can't necessarily be there in their 9-to-5 hours. So what you need to do is you need to look at what it is in your personal psyche that develops the blocks, what the blocks are or what the barriers are, how it is you can actually manage these, and what sort of work type setup and work-life balance is actually going to best manage these, so you can actually be your most productive and work at your very best. So thank you very much for listening to me today, and it has actually been a big deal to actually own up about these problems on camera and effectively to the world for the rest of my life. But to me, it's really important for people to understand where I'm coming from when I start to talk about some of these barriers and issues that could be in relation to your career, and why it is so important to solidify the rungs where you're talking about your own personal self-awareness, how you interact with other people, and in particular, how that all interacts with your mental health and your work-life balance. So thank you very much for hanging with me for the length of this day 11 video, particularly on a Saturday evening. And whether you're looking at this on a Saturday evening, a Sunday morning, or later in the week, please, I would love to hear your feedback, and I would love to hear more about people who may have particular issues that are potentially getting in the way of them climbing their career ladder. So once again, this is Maggie Georgopoulos. I'm the author of the upcoming book, Up the Ladder in the Skirt, and the managing director of the business Mags Inspires, and I look forward to interacting with you further.